Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books, right here in the live studios of Hythe, England, Kent, southeast England, right near the English Channel on the coast, the haven that has become a true haven by the constant reading of the Caitanya-caritämrta. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur glorified the Caitanya-caritämrta with this poetic statement. He said, in due course, Mahäprabhu, devastating floods, will inundate the entire universe. If you attempt to survive by swimming in that deluge, then do not neglect to take hold of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Sri Caitanya-caritämrta. Or if you cannot hold all three, then release Bhagavad Gita. If necessary, you may also relinquish Srimad Bhagavatam. But under no circumstances release your hold on Sri Caitanya-caritämrta. Because if this one book remains, then the flood can do no actual damage. Because after it has subsided, the message of Shastra can be revived from Sri Caitanya-caritämrta alone, it being the essence of all Shastra. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Okay, we're in the Madhya-lila, chapter 1, and we just heard one of the most touching things I've ever heard. Every time I hear it, it becomes the most touching thing I've ever heard. The meeting between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the first meeting between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis, then Dabir Khas and Sakara Malik, in which they expressed the ultimate in humility. And Lord Chaitanya's heart melted, and he gave them his full mercy and declared that they were his very old servants. So then, you may remember that Nrsimha Brahmachari was constructing a pathway to Vrindavan when he heard that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going there. And in his mind, he constructed this beautiful road made of jewels, flower petals, and, different trees on the side of the road, bathing ghats. But when he got to a place called when he got to a place named Kanai Natashala, he couldn't finish the road in his meditation. And he made a statement to the devotees, Lord Chaitanya is not going to Vrindavan now. Wait and see. So then after this touching meeting between Lord Chaitanya and Rupa and Sanatan, in which he gave them the names Rupa and Sanatan, and in that way initiated them into the holy name, they advised Lord Chaitanya. This is how intimate their relationship was. They advised him that, my Lord, you're being followed by hundreds and thousands of people. We think this is not a very good way to go on pilgrimage to Vrindavan. And Lord Chaitanya said, yes, you're right. That's how authoritative Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami were. They could even advise the Lord, and he would accept their advice. Right from their first meeting, eternal relationship. So here we are. We're starting with 227, text 227 of the first chapter of the Madhya-lila of Caitanya-caritämrta. In the morning, the Lord left and went to a place known as Kanai, Natashala. While there, he saw many pastimes of Lord Krishna. Purport. In those days in Bengal, there were many places known as Kanai, Natashala, where pictures of the pastimes of Lord Krishna were kept. People used to go there to see them. This is called Krishna Charitra-lila. In Bengal, there are still many places called Hari Sabha, which indicates a place where local people gather to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and discuss the pastimes of Lord Krishna. The word Kanayara means Lord Krishna's, and Natashala indicates a place where pastimes are demonstrated. So these places, which at the present moment are called Hari Sabha, may previously have been known as Kanai, Natashala. Text 228. That night, the Lord considered Sanatana Goswami's proposal that he should not go to Vrindavan followed by so many people. 229. The Lord thought, if I go to Mathura with such crowds behind me, it would not be a very happy situation, for the atmosphere would be disturbed. Purport. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirms that visiting a holy place like Vrindavan with so many people is simply disturbing. He would not find the happiness he desired by visiting such holy places in that way. Text 230. The Lord concluded that he would go alone to Vrindavan, or at most would take only one person as his companion. In that way, going to Vrindavan would be very pleasant. Text 231. Thinking like this, the Lord took his morning bath in the Ganges and started for Nilachala, saying, I shall go there. 232. Walking and walking, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived at Shantipur and remained at the house of Advaita Acharya for 5 to 7 days. Text 233. Taking this opportunity, Sri Advaita Acharya sent for Mother Shachi Devi, and she remained at his house for 7 days to prepare the meals for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 234. Taking permission from his mother, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then started for Jagannath Puri. When the devotees followed him, he humbly begged them to remain and bade them all farewell. Text 235. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although requesting all the devotees to go back, allowed 2 people to follow him. He requested all the devotees to come to Jagannath Puri and meet him during the car festival. Text 236. The 2 persons who accompanied Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Jagannath Puri, Nilachala, were Balabhadra Bhattacharya and Damodar Pandit. 237. After remaining at Jagannath Puri for a few days, the Lord secretly started for Vrindavan at night. He did this without anyone's knowledge. 238. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left Jagannath Puri for Vrindavan, only Balabhadra Bhattacharya was with him. Thus he traveled on the path through Jharkhand and arrived at Benares, Varanasi, with great delight. 239. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed at Benares only 4 days and then left for Vrindavan. After seeing the town of Mathura, he visited the 12 forests. Purport. Those who visit the Vrindavan area today also generally visit 12 places known as the 12 forests. They start at Mathura, where there is Kamyavan. From there they go to Talavan, Tamalavan, Madhuban, Kusamavan, Bandiravan, Bilbavan, Bhadravan, Kadiravan, Lohavan, Kumadavan, and Gokul Mahavan. Text 240. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited all 12 places of Sri Krishna's pastimes, he became very much agitated because of ecstasy. Balabhadra Bhattacharya somehow or other got him out of Mathura. So we'll hear the details of all these pastimes later on. This is just a synopsis. 241. After leaving Mathura, the Lord began to walk along the path of the bank of the Ganges, and finally he reached the holy place named Prayag, Allahabad. It was there that Srila Rupa Goswami came and met the Lord. 242. At Prayag, Rupa Goswami fell down on the ground to offer obeisances to the Lord, and the Lord embraced him with great delight. 243. After instructing Srila Rupa Goswami at Prayag, at the Dashashwamedha Ghat, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered him to go to Vrindavan. The Lord then returned to Varanasi. 244. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived at Varanasi, Sanatana Goswami met him there. The Lord remained there for 2 months and instructed Sanatana Goswami perfectly. 245. After fully instructing Sanatana Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sent him to Mathura with empowered devotional service. In Benares, he also bestowed his mercy upon the Mayavadi sannyasis. He then returned to Nilachala, Jagannath Puri. Text 246. The Lord traveled all over India for 6 years. He was sometimes here and sometimes there, performing his transcendental pastimes, and sometimes he remained at Jagannath Puri. 247. While at Jagannath Puri, the Lord passed his time in great joy by performing Sankirtan and visiting the temple of Jagannath in great ecstasy. 248. Thus I have given a synopsis of the Madhya-lila, the middle pastimes of the Lord. Now, O devotees, kindly hear the synopsis of the final pastimes of the Lord, known as the Antya-lila. Text 249. When the Lord returned to Jagannath Puri from Vrindavan, he remained there and did not go anywhere else for 18 years. Text 250. During those 18 years, all the devotees of Bengal used to visit him at Jagannath Puri every year. They would remain there for 4 continuous months and enjoy the company of the Lord. 251. At Jagannath Puri, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed chanting and dancing unceasingly. Thus he enjoyed the pastime of Sankirtan. He manifested his causeless mercy, pure love of God, to everyone, including the lowest man. 252. Residing with the Lord at Jagannath Puri were Pandit Goshai and other devotees such as Vakreshwar, Damodar, Shankar, and Haridas Thakur. Text 253. Jagadananda, Bhagavan, Govinda, Kashishwar, Paramananda Puri, and Surup Damodar were other devotees who also lived with the Lord. Text 254. Srila Ramananda Roy and other devotees who were residents of Jagannath Puri also remained permanently with the Lord. 255 and 256. Other devotees of the Lord, headed by Advaita Acharya, Nityananda Prabhu, Mukunda, Srivas, Vidyanidhi, Vasudev, and Murari, used to visit Jagannath Puri and remain with the Lord for 4 continuous months. The Lord enjoyed various pastimes in their company. 257. At Jagannath Puri, Haridas Thakur passed away. The incident was very wonderful because the Lord himself performed the festival of Thakur Haridas's departure. 258. At Jagannath Puri, Srila Rupa Goswami met the Lord again, and the Lord invested his heart with all transcendental power. 259. After this, the Lord punished Junior Haridas, and Damodar Pandit gave some warning to the Lord. Purport. Actually, Damodar Pandit was the eternal servant of the Lord. He could not punish the Lord at any time, nor had he any desire to. But he did give some warning to the Lord so that others would not blaspheme him. Of course, he should have known that the Lord is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is free to act in any way. There is no need to warn him, and such an action is not very much appreciated by advanced devotees. Text 260. Thereafter, Sanatana Goswami met the Lord again, and the Lord tested him in scorching heat during the month of Jyeshta. 261. Being pleased, the Lord sent Sanatana Goswami back to Vrindavan. After that, he was fed wonderfully by the hands of Sri Advaita Acharya. 262. After sending Sanatana Goswami back to Vrindavan, the Lord privately consulted with Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Then he sent him to Bengal to preach love of Godhead. Text 263. Soon afterward, Balabhabata met the Lord at Jagannath Puri, and the Lord explained to him the import of the holy name of Krishna. Purport. Balabhabata is the head of the Vaishnava Sampradaya, known as the Balabhacharya Sampradaya in Western India. There is a long story about Balabhacharya narrated in the Caitanya-caritämrta, specifically in the 17th chapter of the Untitled and the 19th chapter of the Madhya-lila. Lord Chaitanya Mahäprabhu visited the house of Balabhacharya on the other side of Prayag in a place known as Adaila Gram. Later, Balabhabata saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Puri to explain his commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. He was very proud of his writings, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu corrected him, telling him that a Vaishnava should be humble and follow in the footsteps of his predecessors. The Lord told him that his pride in being superior to Sridhar Swami was not at all befitting a Vaishnava. Text 264. After explaining the transcendental qualities of Ramananda Roy, the Lord sent Pradyumna Mishra to his residence, and Pradyumna Mishra learned Krishna Katha from him. Text 265. After this, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saved Gopinath Patanayaka, the younger brother of Ramananda Roy, from being condemned to death by the king. Text 266. Ramachandra Puri criticized Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's eating. Therefore, the Lord reduced his eating to a minimum. However, when all the Vaishnavas became very sorry, the Lord increased his portion to half as much as usual. 267. There are 14 planetary systems within the universe, and all living entities reside in those planetary systems. Text 268. Dressing like human beings on pilgrimage, they all used to come to Jagannath Puri to visit Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. 269. One day, all the devotees, headed by Srivas Thakur, were chanting the transcendental qualities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. 270. Not liking the chanting of his transcendental qualities, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chastised them as if he were angry. "What kind of chanting is this?" he said. "Are you leaving aside the chanting of the holy name of the Lord?" 271. Thus Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chastised all the devotees, telling them not to show impudence and spoil the entire world by becoming independent. Purport. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu warned all his followers not to become independent or impudent. Unfortunately, after the disappearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, many apasampradayas, so-called followers, invented many ways not approved by the acharyas. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has described them as aul, baul, kartabhaja, nedha, daravesha, sani, sahajya, sakibeki, smarta, jatagosai, ativadi, chudadari, and goranga nagari. The Aul Sampradaya, Baul Sampradaya, and others invented their own ways of understanding Lord Chaitanya's philosophy without following in the footsteps of the acharyas. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself indicates herein that all such attempts would simply spoil the spirit of his cult. Text 272. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was apparently in an angry mood and chastising his devotees, many thousands of people outside loudly cried in a tumultuous voice, "All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu." Text 273. All the people began to call very loudly, "All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the son of Maharaj Nanda. Now you have appeared in order to deliver the whole world." 274. "O Lord, we are very unhappy. We have come a long distance to see you. Please be merciful and show us your favor." 275. When the Lord heard the humble petition made by the people, his heart softened. Being very merciful, he immediately came out and gave audience to all of them. Excuse me. Text 276. Raising his arms, the Lord asked everyone to chant loudly the vibration of the holy name of Lord Hari. There immediately arose a great stir, and the vibration of Hari filled all directions. Text 278. Seeing the Lord, Everyone became joyful out of love. Everyone accepted the Lord as the Supreme, and thus they offered their prayers. 278. While the people were offering their prayers unto the Lord, Srivas Thakur sarcastically said to the Lord, "At home you wanted to be covered. Why have you exposed yourself outside?" 279. Srivas Thakur continued, "Who has taught these people? What are they saying? Now you can cover their mouths with your own hand." 280. It is as if the sun, after rising, wanted to hide itself. We cannot understand such characteristics in your behavior. 281. The Lord replied, "My dear Srinivas, please stop joking. You have all combined together to humiliate me in this way." Text 282. Thus speaking, the Lord entered his room after glancing auspiciously upon the people out of charity. In this way, the desires of the people were completely satisfied. Text 283. At this time, Raghunath Das approached Sri Nityananda Prabhu and, according to his order, prepared a feast and distributed prasadam composed of chipped rice and yogurt. Purport. There is a special preparation in Bengal wherein chipped rice is mixed with yogurt and sometimes with sandesh and mango. It is a very palatable food offered to the deity and then distributed to the public. Raghunath Das Goswami, who was a householder at this time, met Nityananda Prabhu. According to his advice, he executed this festival of Dadi Chida Prasad. Text 284. Later, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami left home and took shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Puri. At that time, the Lord received him and placed him under the care of Swarup Damodar for spiritual enlightenment. Purport. In this regard, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami writes in the Vilapa Kushimanjali 5. Yo mam dushtadageha nirjalamaha kupad aparaklamat sadya sandradayan buddhi prakritita swairi kripa rajubihi udrityat masado janindi chadana prantam prapadya swayam Sri Damodara Chachakara Tamaham Caitanya-caritämrta bhaje. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who by his unreserved mercy kindly saved me from household life, which is exactly like a blind well without water, and placed me in the ocean of transcendental joy under the care of Swarup Damodar Goswami. Text 285. Later, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stopped Brahmananda Bharati's habit of wearing deerskin. The Lord thus enjoyed his pastimes continuously for 6 years, experiencing varieties of transcendental bliss. Text 286. I have thus given a synopsis of the Madhya-lila. Now hear the pastimes the Lord performed during the last 12 years. Purport. Thus, Srila Kaviraj Goswami, strictly following in the footsteps of Sri Vyasadeva, gives a synopsis of the Leelas of Sri Caitanya-caritämrta. He has given such a description at the end of each canto. In the Adi Lila, he outlined the pastimes of the Lord in the 5 stages of boyhood, leaving the details of the description to Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. Now in this chapter, the pastimes that took place at the end of the Lord's life are summarized. These are described in the Madhya-lila and Untitled. The rest of the pastimes have been described in a synopsis in the second chapter of the Madhya-lila. In this way, the author has gradually described both the Madhya-lila and the Untitled. Text 287. Sri Rupa Raghunath Padiyara Ash Caitanya-caritämrta Kahi Krishna Das. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishna Das, narrate Sri Caitanya-caritämrta, following in their footsteps. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to Sri Caitanya-caritämrta, Madhya-lila, first chapter, summarizing the later pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahäprabhu. Jai Sri Chaitanya Mahäprabhu ki jai. All Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Sri Advaita Acharya Shri Sri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Sri Ramananda Roy ki jai. Sri Swarup Damodar ki jai. Six Goswamis of Vrindavan ki jai. Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol, the Madhya-lila and Ancha-lila of Sri Caitanya-caritämrta ki jai. Okay, that was a river of nectar. And that's just a summary. These were just a few. Notice that of all the pastimes, the one that was the most elaborately explained was the meeting of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami and their feelings that they expressed toward Lord Chaitanya, their humility. That and the Kazi. Oh no, the Kazi was before. I'm sorry. The Kazi was before. Yeah. All right, let's take a vote. Should we go on to chapter 2 or should we stop here? Oh, all right, we'll go on. Chapter 2. The ecstatic manifestations of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahäprabhu. In the second chapter of the Madhya-lila, the author describes the pastimes the Lord performed during the last 12 years of his life. Thus he has also described some of the pastimes of the Antya-lila. Why he has done so is very difficult for an ordinary person to understand. The author expects that reading the pastimes of the Lord will gradually help a person awaken his dormant love of Krishna. Actually, this Caitanya-caritämrta was compiled by the author during very old age. Fearing he might not be able to finish the book, he has included a synopsis of the Antya-lila here in the second chapter. Srila Kaviraj Goswami has confirmed that the opinion of Swarup Damodar is authoritative in the matter of devotional service. Over and above this are the notes of Swarup Damodar, memorized by Raghunath Das Goswami, who also helped in the compilation of the Caitanya-caritämrta. After the disappearance of Swarup Damodar Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami went to Vrindavan. At that time, the author, Srila Kaviraj Goswami, met Raghunath Das Goswami, by whose mercy he also could memorize all the notes. In this way, the author was able to complete this transcendental literature, Sri Caitanya-caritämrta. Text 1. While relating in synopsis form the last division of the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahäprabhu, in this chapter I shall describe the Lord's transcendental ecstasy, which appears like madness due to his separation from Krishna. Purport. In this second chapter, the activities of Lord Chaitanya that took place after the Lord accepted sannyas, are generally described. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is specifically mentioned here as being Gora, or of fair complexion. Krishna is generally known to be blackish, but when he is absorbed in the thought of the gopis, who are all of fair complexion, Krishna himself also becomes fair. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in particular, felt separation from Krishna very deeply, exactly like a lover who is dejected in separation from the beloved. Such feelings, which were expressed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for nearly 12 years at the end of his pastimes, are described in brief in this second chapter of Madhya-lila. Text 2. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to Lord Nityananda. All glories to Advaita Chandra. And all glories to all the devotees of the Lord. Text 3. During his last 12 years, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always manifested all the symptoms of ecstasy in separation from Krishna. Text 4. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's state of mind day and night was practically identical to Radharani's state of mind when Uddhava came to Vrindavan to see the gopis. Text 5. The Lord constantly exhibited a state of mind reflecting the madness of separation. All his activities were based on forgetfulness, and his talks were always based on madness. Text 6. Blood flowed from all the pores of his body, and all his teeth were loosened. At one moment, his whole body became slender, and at another moment, his whole body became fat. Text 7. The small room beyond the corridor is called the Gambhira. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to stay in that room, but he did not sleep for a moment. All night he used to grind his mouth and head on the wall, and his face sustained injuries all over. Text 8. Although the 3 doors of the house were always closed, the Lord would nonetheless go out, and sometimes would be found at the Jagannath temple before the gate known as Singadwara, and sometimes the Lord would fall flat into the sea. Text 9. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would also run very fast across the sand dunes, mistaking them for Govardhan. As he ran, he would wail and cry loudly. Purport. Because of the winds of the sea, sometimes the sand would form dunes. Such sand dunes are called Chataka Parvata. Instead of seeing these sand dunes simply as hills of sand, the Lord would take them to be Govardhan Hill. Sometimes he would run toward these dunes at high speed, crying very loudly, expressing the state of mind exhibited by Radharani. Thus Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was absorbed in thoughts of Krishna and his pastimes. His state of mind brought him the atmosphere of Vrindavan and Govardhan Hill, and thus he enjoyed the transcendental bliss of separation and meeting. Text 10. Sometimes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mistook the small parks of the city for Vrindavan. Sometimes he would go there, dance and chant, and sometimes fall unconscious in spiritual ecstasy. Text 11. The extraordinary transformations of the body due to transcendental feelings would never have been possible for anyone but the Lord, in whose body all transformations were manifest. Purport. The ecstatic transformations of the body described in such exalted literatures as the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu are practically not seen in this material world. However, these symptoms were perfectly present in the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. These symptoms are indicative of Mahabhava, or the highest ecstasy. Sometimes sahajas artificially imitate these symptoms, but experienced devotees reject such imitations immediately. The author admits herein that these symptoms are not to be found anywhere but in the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahäprabhu. Text 12. The joints of his hands and legs would sometimes become separated by 8 inches, and they remained connected only by the skin. 13. Sometimes Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's hands, legs, and head would all enter within his body, just like the withdrawn limbs of a tortoise. Text 14. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to manifest wonderful ecstatic symptoms. His mind appeared vacant, and there were only hopelessness and disappointment in his words. Text 15. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to express his mind in this way. Where is the Lord of my life, who is playing his flute? What shall I do now? Where should I go to find the son of Maharaj Nanda? Text 16. To whom should I speak? Who can understand my disappointment? Without the son of Nanda Maharaj, my heart is broken. Text 17. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always expressed bewilderment and lamentation and separation from Krishna. At such times, he used to recite the shlokas from Ramananda Roy's drama, known as Jagannath Vallabha Nataka. Text 18. Srimati Radharani used to lament, our Krishna does not realize what we have suffered from injuries inflicted in the course of loving affairs. We are actually misused by love, because love does not know where to strike and where not to strike. Even Cupid does not know of our very much weakened condition. What should I tell anyone? No one can understand another's difficulties. Our life is actually not under our control, for youth will remain for 2 or 3 days and soon be finished. In this condition, O Creator, in this condition, O Creator, what will be our destination? Purport. This verse is from the Jagannath Vallabha Nataka 3:9 of Ramananda Roy. Text 19. Srimati Radharani spoke thus, in distress due to separation from Krishna. Oh, what shall I say of my distress? After I met Krishna, my loving propensities sprouted, but upon separating from him, I sustained a great shock, which is now continuing like the sufferings of a disease. The only physician for this disease is Krishna himself, but he is not taking care of this sprouting plant of devotional service. What can I say about the behavior of Krishna? Outwardly, he is a very attractive young lover, but at heart, he is a great cheat, very expert in killing others' wives. Text 20. Srimati Radharani continued, lamenting about the consequences of loving Krishna. My dear friend, I do not understand the regulative principles given by the Creator. I loved Krishna for happiness, but the result was just the opposite. I am now in an ocean of distress. It must be that now I am going to die, for my vital force no longer remains. This is the state of my mind. 21. My nature Loving affairs are very crooked. They are not entered with sufficient knowledge, nor do they consider whether a place is suitable or not, nor do they look forward to the results. By the ropes of his good qualities, Krishna, who is so unkind, has bound my neck and hands, and I am unable to get relief. 22. In my loving affairs, there is a person named Madana. His qualities are thus. Personally, he possesses no gross body, yet he is very expert in giving pain to others. He has 5 arrows, and fixing them on his bow, he shoots them into the bodies of innocent women. Thus these women become invalids. It would be better if he took my life without hesitation, but he does not do so. He simply gives me pain. 23. In the scriptures it is said that one person can never know the unhappiness in the mind of another. Therefore, what can I say of my dear friends Lalita and the others? Nor can they understand the happiness within me. They simply try to console me, repeatedly saying, "Dear friend, be patient." 24. I say, my dear friends, you are asking me to be patient, saying that Krishna is an ocean of mercy, and that sometime in the future he will accept me. However, I must say that this will not console me. A living entity's life is very flickering. It is like water on the leaf of a lotus flower. Who will live long enough to expect Krishna's mercy? Text 25. A human being does not live for more than 100 years. You should also consider that the youthfulness of a woman, which is the only attraction for Krishna, remains only a few days. 26. If you say that Krishna is an ocean of transcendental qualities and therefore must be merciful someday, I can only say that he is just like fire, which attracts moths by its dazzling brightness and kills them. Such are the qualities of Krishna. By showing us his transcendental qualities, he attracts our minds, and then later, by separating from us, he drowns us in an ocean of unhappiness. 27. In this way, Lord Sri Caitanya Mahäprabhu lamented in a great ocean of sadness, and thus he opened the doors of his unhappiness. Forced by the waves of ecstasy, his mind wandered over transcendental mellows, and he recited another verse as follows. My dear friends, unless I serve the transcendental form, qualities, and pastimes of Sri Krishna, all my days and all my senses will become entirely useless. Now I am uselessly bearing the burden of my senses, which are like stone blocks and dried wood. I do not know how long I will be able to continue without shame. Text 29. Of what use are the eyes of one who does not see the face of Krishna, which resembles the moon, and is the birthplace of all beauty, and the reservoir of the nectarian songs of his flute? Oh, let a thunderbolt strike his head. Why does he keep such eyes? Purport. The moon-like face of Krishna is the reservoir of nectarian songs and the abode of his flute. It is also the root of all bodily beauty. The gopis think that if their eyes are not engaged in seeing the beautiful face of Krishna, it would be better for them to be struck by a thunderbolt. For the gopis, To see anything but Krishna is uninteresting and indeed detestable. The gopis are never pleased to see anything but Krishna. The only solace for their eyes is the beautiful moonlight face of Krishna, the worshipful object of all senses. When they cannot see the beautiful face of Krishna, they actually see everything as vacant, and they desire to be struck by a thunderbolt. They do not find any reason to maintain their eyes when they are bereft of the beauty of Krishna. Text 30. My dear friends, please hear me. I have lost all providential strength. Without Krishna, my body, consciousness, and mind, as well as all my senses, are useless. 31. Topics about Krishna are like waves of nectar. If such nectar does not enter one's ear, the ear is no better than the hole of a damaged conch shell. Such an ear is created for no purpose. Purport. In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur quotes the following verses from Srimad Bhagavatam 2.3, 17 through 24. And it's after 8 o'clock, and this purport is talking 8 verses. So, as much as I hate to say it and hate to do it, I'm going to stop here. Hare Krishna. And we can take up right in the middle of the soliloquies of Sri Chaitanya Mahäprabhu, which are exactly the same as Srimati Radharani's exhibitions of extreme separation from Krishna in Mahabhava. Hare Krishna. So, our faithful assistant, Abhaya Das Brahmachari, is manning the telephone, which is now acting like a camera, very nicely, by the way, and the open mic, which is ready to express the reflections of the devotees who are out there in cyberspace, feeling transcendental pleasure, hearing these extremely intimate pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahäprabhu. So please be my guest. Hare Krishna. It could be that everybody's just rolling around on the ground and they can only gurgle. Prabhupada's so kind, huh? To have given us, to have brought this nectar to us. Inconceivable. Well, I don't blame all of you. I must say, it's making us speechless. Or maybe they're mad at me because I stopped. Could be. Anything's possible these days. Oh, all right, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow at the same time, same station, in this wonderful little haven called Hythe. This really wonderful little haven called Hythe. It sounds a little poetic. Somebody's gotten up the courage.
Sudevi Dasi.
Sudevi, she's steady like a rock.
Dear Maharaj, Please accept my humble obeisances.
Jai Sri Devi Dasi.
Glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Glories to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, our eternal Father and best friend.
For a long time I did not make comment by fear of showing my ignorance, but I am overwhelmed with interest hearing Lord Chaitanya's intense feelings and symptoms of love for Radharani. Krishna knows everything already. Did he display all those symptoms to us?
It's actually Radharani displaying her love for Krishna through Chaitanya Mahäprabhu. This is just the causeless mercy of Chaitanya Mahäprabhu. He came. This is the ultimate motive for him coming in the form of Chaitanya Mahäprabhu. Of course, it was also to distribute love of Krishna to everyone, especially those who were fortunate enough to have seen him in these transcendental ecstasies. But anyone, even when you were just walking from one place to another, or whatever, just seeing him would bring one to a place of unthinkable, unspeakable, transcendental ecstasy. Yes, there's practically no way to comment on them. They speak for themselves. We just have to keep hearing them again and again. And what will happen is our attraction for Krishna will be forcefully awakened. The problem is that some devotees, when the Caitanya-caritämrta first came out in LA, a group of devotees in LA began to just hear these things, and they didn't want to hear anything else. And eventually it came back to Prabhupada, and he became very upset because he knew that they weren't ready for this. You know, remember it talked in one of the purports about the Sahajas and other Aprasampradayas who imitate, you know, the feelings of Chaitanya Mahäprabhu. Of course, we heard also in a commentary that the Sahajas are better than the Mayavadis because at least they accept Krishna. But still, they ruin the process. They mislead people. And he got very upset, Prabhupada, and he shut it down, you know, and gave everyone a lesson, a big lesson. But that didn't mean, at the end of that very intense situation in which he was vigorously explaining to these devotees what the truth was, that they weren't ready for hearing just these things, and it was artificial. At the end, after they had left, and some of them really left, Prabhupada turned to all the senior devotees around and said, that does not mean that we boycott Srimati Radharani. So we're meant to hear these things, but we're not meant to dwell on them constantly over long periods of time before we're actually ready. In the heart and mind of a person who's actually ready, he will not be able to think of anything else. But we're not like that. We're thinking of so many things. We're taking such, you know, care of our bodies and making all sorts of arrangements for ourselves. Yes, Sudevi, these pastimes are inexplicable, but they are the source of the topmost transcendental emotions. And therefore we should hear them. We should hear them, and we should appreciate. We should just keep hearing and appreciating, and hear the rest of Caitanya-caritämrta, and the Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam, and we should keep hearing these things again and again and again for the rest of our lives. And according to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, this is called incidental hearing. By the incidental hearing of these special moments of ecstasy in the midst of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes of preaching and living his first part of his life and all the other things that he did in his pastimes, we will come to the stage of being extremely attached to Krishna. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. This is the way he bestows attraction to Radha and Krishna and to himself upon all of us. But when we hear these symptoms, then we should be able to understand no one can imitate these things. It was stated explicitly, wasn't it? No one can exhibit the symptoms of ecstasy that Lord Chaitanya displayed while he was here with us. No one. Not possible. So we should worship those symptoms. Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll start up tomorrow at right in the middle of this ecstasy. It's going to be very, very nice. What is tomorrow? Oh yeah, tomorrow's Wednesday, Tuesday, 28th. Okay, I have my meeting of the Revisions Reviewed panel tomorrow. I have a lot of things to prepare, so I'll leave you now and bear the separation until tomorrow evening. Sri Caitanya-caritämrta ki jai. Samabeda Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Oops.
There was a little bit more of her comment, actually.
Oh, sorry. Abhay didn't read all of the comments of Sudevi. Go ahead.
She says, Krishna knows everything already. Krishna knows everything already. Did he display all those symptoms to show us how he loves himself and how lovable he is? Yes, I am almost gurgling, like you say. This is amazing to me how much Krishna loves himself. We all are the perverted reflection of pride.
Try to understand that he was in the mood of Srimati Radharani. He wouldn't think that that was a very nice thought, to think how Krishna loved himself, although it's a fact that what brought him to the decision to come and to try to understand Krishna, Radharani's love for him, was when he saw himself in a jeweled pillar in Goloka. And he was so amazed by the beauty that he wondered. He began to wonder, what was it in him that Radharani tasted? And he came to taste that himself. And he tried, but he couldn't. And then he came to the conclusion, the only way that I can taste this is to actually take the position of Srimati Radharani. So that's what he did. And this is the ultimate expression of the inconceivable energy of the Lord. He is not bound by any laws, by any rules, by anything. He can do whatever he likes without limit. Therefore, he came in the mood of Radharani and showed us the ultimate symptoms of the highest transcendental love that can only be exhibited by Radharani, and they are not to be imitated. If we take the position of the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of Radha and Krishna, servant of the servant of the servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then we can taste something.
She says, yes, Maharaj, I am trying to understand the difference between Krishna and Radharani.
Yeah, well, Lord Chaitanya is, all you have to do is hear the words coming out of Lord Chaitanya's mouth, and you'll understand the difference. It's so incredibly wonderful how these books have so many layers of meanings and such depth of possibilities of knowledge that you can go on hearing them again and again, and they never get tiresome. And every time I hear these things, it's like new and fresh. It's proof of the pudding.
She also commented that Krishna is the love potency of Krishna.
Well, Krishna is non-different from everything, but he is at the same time different from everything as the source of everything. So Radharani is the love potency. She's the abode of love for Krishna. And Krishna is the object of that love. But he also feels love for the abode of love. And in this way, by their exchange, the love in each of them keeps on increasing forever. It never stops increasing.
She says that she meant to say that Radharani is the love potency of Krishna.
Yes, that's correct. Ladini Shakti.
And a comment from Teresa Jane Sauerman.
Teresa Jane Sauerman.
Thank you, Maharaj. His glance alone brought complete satisfaction to the crowd outside his door. May he one day glance at me thus.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Lord Chaitanya came to teach us that you can have all of that simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, which is not different than Krishna. And the holy Mahamantra is not different than Radha and Krishna.
And one question from Yadutama Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Yadutama.
He says, Hare Krishna Gurudev, please accept my humble obeisances and all glories to Srila Prabhupada. What does incidental hearing mean?
Incidental hearing means that as you hear the Bhagavad Gita, and especially the Srimad Bhagavatam, you will hear from time to time, even in places that are not describing necessarily the pastimes of Krishna, you will hear them. Just like when Vidura met Uddhava, Vidura didn't know about what had happened at the Battle of Kurukshetra. He didn't know what had happened, with the disappearance of Krishna and all of the... So Uddhava explained everything to him, and in a very intimate way. And yet that's in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavatam, 1st canto. Third canto. Yeah, 3rd canto. And like that, in every canto there's some glimpse. In 1st canto, Bhishma Dev leaves his body and he discusses, how wonderful the pastimes of Krishna and the gopis are, and glorifies their pastimes. Just a little drop, just a little hint. So like that, all the way through the books, there are little hints, and then you get to the 10th canto. So if you just keep hearing without trying to imitate one mood or another, or artificially become attached to one pastime or another, but just relish hearing all the pastimes, one after another, time and time again. By that process of incidental hearing, gradually, you will naturally become attracted to a particular pastime and even particular devotees within those pastimes, and find out who you are in the spiritual world. Not to be imitated, but that's the process. Chant Hare Krishna, learn to chant without offense, and hear these transcendental nectarian pastimes, especially Srimad Bhagavatam, Caitanya-caritämrta, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, the pastime, the books of the Goswamis. But first things first, take it step at a time. That's why it's called incidental. Be honest. Don't try to be more advanced than you are. Be honest. When Sanatana Goswami approached Lord Chaitanya, he said, people think they think that I'm a great person. They call me this, they call me that. And what kind of great person I am? I don't even know who I am. And Lord Chaitanya, what did he say? You are an eternal servant of Krishna. He didn't say, you are a manjari. He could have, because he was. And Lord Chaitanya is Radha and Krishna together. He knew everything.
Nidutama says, this is amazing. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Okay, now I have to go. Shri Caitanya-caritämrta ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bo. See you tomorrow night. Same place, same station. Just like the lines in stone. Although I have been every once in a while taking a break. Hare Krishna. See you tomorrow.